Hey everybody. Okay. Yeah. Okay. It's working. Great. Hello everyone and welcome to the Art of Creation show. I'm your host Rebecca Boswell. And yeah, we're a little bit late with this one. Sometimes my plan is not the plan, it turns out. So I had a wonderful time exploring in Arizona last week. Went to a lot of Native American sites that were amazing. Even hiked a few vortexes in Sedona. So how does it get any better than that? What has that now contributed to the energy here, I wonder? So yeah, I didn't have my book with me. So hi. I didn't have my book with me, so I couldn't read this to you on Friday. So I'm going to read to you today. For those of you who have been watching the Art of Creation show for a while, this is about exploring choice and what we create with those choices. So creating a life and a living that can actually work for you, whatever that is, choice creates. And, it's easy to say that. And sometimes when we explore what that actually can look like, it can show up in lots of different ways. And for those of you who are coming back after the last two episodes, you know that we have been doing this read along with Michael Singer's book, The Untethered Soul. So our first episode of this season 7 was chapters 1 and 2, and the second episode was chapters 3 and 4. Today, the plan is part 2, chapters 5 and 6, and depending on how the reading goes, I may also throw in chapter 7 so that you get the whole part 2 bundle of 3 chapters all at once. So let's go. Part 2, Experiencing Energy. I love this book. I'm so excited to be rereading it again with you guys. Here we go. Consciousness. Oh, wait. Chapter 5, it's called Infinite Energy. Consciousness is one of the great mysteries in life. Inner energy is another. It's actually a shame how little attention the Western world pays to the laws of inner energy. We study the energy outside and give great value to energy resources, but we ignore the energy within. People go about their lives thinking, feeling, and acting without the understanding of what makes these activities take place. The truth is, every movement of your body, every emotion you have, and every thought that passes through your mind is an expenditure of energy. Just as everything that happens outside in the physical world requires energy, everything that happens inside requires an expenditure of energy as well. For example, if you concentrate on a thought and another thought interferes, you will have to assert an opposing force to fight the interfering thought. That requires energy, and it can wear you out. Likewise, if you have a thought that you're trying to hold in your mind, but it keeps drifting off, you have to willfully concentrate to bring it back. When you do this, you are actually sending more energy to the thought in order to hold it in the given place. You also assert energy to deal with your emotions. If you have an emotion you don't like and it's interfering with what you're doing, you just push it aside. You do this almost instinctively so that the unwanted emotion doesn't come up and disturb you. Every one of these acts is an expenditure of energy. Creating thoughts, holding on to thoughts, recalling thoughts, generating emotions, controlling emotions, and disciplining powerful inner drives all require a tremendous expenditure of energy. Hi guys. I'm so happy you're here. Where does all this energy come from? Good question. Why is the energy there sometimes and at other times you feel completely drained? Have you ever noticed that when you are mentally and emotionally drained, food doesn't help that much? Conversely, if you look at the times in your life when you were in love or excited and inspired by something, you were so filled with energy that you didn't even want to eat. This energy we are discussing does not come from the calories your body uses from food. There is a source of energy you can draw upon from inside. It is distinct from the outer energy source. The best way to examine this source of energy is to look at an example. Let's say that you're in your 20s and your girlfriend or boyfriend breaks up with you. You get so totally depressed that you start staying home alone. Soon, because you don't have the energy to clean up, everything ends up sprawled all over the floor. You can hardly get out of bed, so you just sleep all the time. You must be eating because there are pizza boxes lying all around, but nothing seems to help. You just have no energy. Your friends invite you out, but you decline. You are simply too tired to do anything. Most people have been there at some point in their lives. You feel that you have no way out, and it seems like you will stay there forever. Then suddenly, one day, the phone rings. It's your girlfriend or boyfriend. And she says, "Hey, remember me?" She's crying. She says, "Oh God, do you remember me, please? I hope you'll still talk to me. I just feel so terrible. Leaving you was the worst mistake I ever made. I see now how important you are to me, and I can't live without you. The only real love I have ever felt in my life was during the time we were together. Would you please forgive me? Could you ever forgive me? Can I come over and see you?" Well, now how are you doing? Seriously, how long does it take you to get enough energy to jump out of bed, clean up the apartment, take a shower, and get some color back in your face? It's practically instantaneous. You're filled with energy the moment you hang up the phone. How does this happen? You were completely drained. For months and months you had no energy. Then out of nowhere, in a matter of seconds, there is so much energy, it blows you away. You can't just ignore these enormous shifts in your energy level. Where exactly did all the energy come from? There was no sudden change in your eating or sleeping habits. Yet, when your girlfriend comes by, you end up talking all night and going out to see the sunrise in the morning. You're not tired at all. You're together again and you're holding hands, and these rushes of joy just won't stop overwhelming you. People see you and they remark that you look like a bundle of light. Where did all this energy come from? What you'll see, if you watch carefully, is that you have a phenomenal amount of energy inside of you. It doesn't come from the food, and it doesn't come from sleep. This energy is always available to you. At any moment, you can draw upon it. It just wells up and fills you from inside. When you're filled with this energy, you feel like you could take on the world. When it is flowing strongly, you can actually feel it coursing through you in waves. It gushes up spontaneously from deep inside and restores, replenishes, and recharges you. So just make a note when that shows up, when you are experiencing those, these bursts of energy, and just notice what you're doing. Notice who you are around. Notice what you're, what you're engaged in. Because what would it take to invite and to choose more of that in your life? So that's my little sidebar. Back to the book. The only reason you don't feel this energy all the time is because you block it. You block it by closing your heart, by closing your mind, and by pulling yourself into a restrictive space inside. This closes you off from all the energy. When you close your heart or close your mind, you hide in the darkness within you. There is no light, there is no energy, there is nothing flowing. The energy is still there, but it can't get in or out, actually. That is what it's meant to be blocked. That is why you have no energy when you're depressed. There are centers within that channel, your energy flow. When you close them, there is no energy. When you open them, there is. Although various energy centers exist within you, the one you intuitively know the most about opening and closing is your heart. Let's say that you love somebody and you feel very open in their presence. Because you trust them, your walls come down, allowing you to feel lots of high energy. But if they do something you don't like the next time you see them, you don't feel so high. You don't feel as much love. Instead, you feel a tightness in your chest. This happens because you closed your eyes. I know. This happens because you closed your heart. Well, maybe you did have to, I can't see anything. Maybe you had to close your eyes to close your heart. Who knows? Okay. The heart is an energy center, and it can open or close. The yogis call energy centers chakras. When you close your heart center, energy can't flow in. When energy can't flow in, there's darkness. Depending upon how closed you are, you either feel tremendous disturbance or overwhelming lethargy. Often people fluctuate between these two states. If you then find out that your loved one didn't do anything wrong, or if they apologize to your satisfaction, your heart opens again. With this opening, you get filled with energy and the love starts flowing again. How many times have you experienced those dynamics in your life? You have a wellspring of beautiful energy inside of you. When you're open, you feel it. When you're closed, you don't. This flow of energy comes from the depth of your being. It's been called by many names. In ancient Chinese medicine, it is called qi. In yoga, it is called shakti. In the West, it is called spirit. Call it anything you want. All the great spiritual traditions talk about your spiritual energy. They just give it different names. That spiritual energy is what you're experiencing when love rushes up into your heart. That is what you're experiencing when you're enthused by something and all this high energy comes up inside of you. You should know about this energy because it's yours. It's your birthright and it's unlimited. You can call upon it anytime you want. It has nothing to do with age. Some 80-year-old people have the energy and enthusiasm of a child. They can work long hours for 7 days a week. It's just energy. Energy doesn't get old, it doesn't get tired, and it doesn't need food. What it needs is openness and receptivity. This energy is equally available to everyone. The sun does not shine differently on different people. If you're good, it shines on you. If you did something bad, it shines on you. It's the same with the inner energy. The only difference is that with the inner energy, you have the ability to close up inside and block it. When you close, the energy stops flowing. When you open, all the energy rushes up inside of you. True spiritual teachings are about this energy and how to open to it. The only thing you have to know is that opening allows energy in and closing blocks it out. And this is where my little sidebar, this is where I would say it's not so much like we can think of it as in and out just for sake of conversation and to give it a little mental structure, right? But when we're really sensing into this, this is really that connection with infinite energy of like, it's not in you, it's not out of you, it's you, and there's that connection piece where there is no separation, right? It's everywhere, everything, and you. You as part of that, So the only thing you have to know is that opening allows energy in and closing blocks it out. Now you have to decide whether or not you want this energy. How high do you want to get? How much love do you want to feel? How much enthusiasm do you want to have for the things you do? If enjoying a full life means experiencing high energy, love, and enthusiasm all the time, then don't ever close. There is a very simple method for staying open. You stay open by never closing. It's really that simple. All you have to do is decide whether you are willing to stay open or whether you think it's worth closing. You can actually train yourself to forge how to close. To forget how to close. You can actually train yourself to forget how to close. Closing is a habit, and just like any other habit, it can be broken. For example, you could be the type of person who has an underlying fear of people and tends to close when you first meet them. You could actually be in the habit of experiencing an uptight closing sensation whenever somebody walks up to you. You can train yourself to do the opposite. You can train yourself to open every time you see a person. Wouldn't that be a fun experiment? It's just a question of whether you want to close or whether you want to open. It's ultimately under your control. Choice creates. They didn't write that in there, but they could have. The problem is we don't exercise that control, or choice even. Under normal circumstances, our state of openness is left to psychological factors. Basically, we are programmed to open or close based upon our past experiences. Impressions from the past are still inside of us, and they get stimulated by different events. If they were negative impressions, we tend to close. If they were positive impressions, we tend to open. Let's say you smell a certain scent that reminds you of what it was like when you were young and somebody was cooking dinner. How you react to this scent depends upon the impressions left by the past experiences. Did you enjoy having dinner with the family? Was the food good? If so, then the smell of that scent warms you and opens you. If it wasn't so much fun eating together, or if you had to eat food you didn't like, then the tightening up and the closing can show up. It really is that sensitive. A smell can make you open or close, and so can seeing a car of a certain color, or even the type of shoes a person is wearing. We are programmed based upon our past impressions, such that all kinds of things can cause us to open and close. If you pay attention, you will see it happening regularly throughout each day. But you should never leave something as important as your energy flow to chance. If you like energy, and you do, then don't ever close. The more you learn to stay open, the more the energy can flow into you, or that's where I would maybe suggest through you. You practice opening by not closing. Anytime you start to close, ask yourself whether you really want to cut off the energy flow. Because if you want, you can learn to stay open no matter what happens in this world. You just make a commitment to explore your capacity for receiving unlimited energy. You simply decide not to close. At first, it feels unnatural, since your inner tendency is to close as a means of protection. But closing your heart does not really protect you from anything. It just cuts you off from your source of energy. In the end, it only serves to lock you inside. What you'll find is that the only thing you really want from life is to feel enthusiasm, joy, and love. If you can feel that all the time, then who cares what happens outside? If you can always feel up, if you can always feel excited about the experience of the moment, then it doesn't make any difference what the experience is. No matter what it is, it's beautiful when you feel that way inside. So you learn to stay open no matter what happens. If you do, you get for free what everybody else is struggling for: love, enthusiasm, excitement, and energy. You simply realize that defining what you need in order to stay open actually ends up limiting you. If you make lists of how the world must be for you to be open, you have limited your openness to those conditions. Better to be open no matter what. How you learn to stay open is up to you. The ultimate trick is to not close. If you don't close, you will have learned to stay open. Do not let anything that happens in life be important enough that you're willing to close your heart over it. When your heart starts to close, just say, no, I'm not going to close, right? I'm going to relax. I'm going to let this situation take place and be there with it. Honor and respect the situation and deal with it. By all means, deal with it. Do the best you can, but deal with it with openness. Deal with it with excitement and enthusiasm. No matter what it is, just let it be the sport of the day. In time, you will find that you forget how to close. No matter what anyone does, no matter what situation takes place, you won't even feel the tendency to close. You will just embrace life with all your heart and soul. Once you've attained this very high state, your energy level will be phenomenal. You will have all the energy you need at all times. Just relax and open, and tremendous energy will rush up inside of you. You are only limited by your ability to stay open. And that's, for those of you who have heard me offer inner freedom coaching, that's exactly what we do with that. And it's really finding those moments, right? Those, you can call them triggers, those pivotal moments, whatever that is, where you start to close, right? And to actually play with those moments in the coaching environment, so that when those types of moments come up again in your everyday life, that you're aware of what's underneath them and you're able to choose that relaxation and choose the capacity to stay open. So if you really want to stay open, pay attention when you feel love and enthusiasm. Then ask yourself why you can't feel this all the time. Why does it have to go away? The answer is obvious. It only goes away if you choose to close. By closing, you are actually making the choice not to feel openness and love. You throw love away all the time. You feel love until somebody says something like they don't like you, and then you give up the love. You feel enthused about your job until someone criticizes something, and then you want to quit. It's your choice. You can either close because you don't like what happened, or you can keep feeling love and enthusiasm by not closing. As long as you are defining what you like and what you don't like, you will open and close. You are actually defining your limits. You are allowing your mind to create triggers that open and close you. Let go of that. Dare to be different. Enjoy all of life. The more you stay open, the more the energy flow can build. At some point, so much energy comes into you that it starts flowing out of you. You feel it as waves pouring out of you and off of you. You can actually feel it flowing off your hands, out of your heart, and through other energy centers. All these energy centers open and a tremendous amount of energy starts flowing out of you. What is more, the energy affects other people. People can pick up on your energy and you're feeling them with this, and you're feeding them with this flow. If you're willing to open even more, it never stops. You become a source of light for all those around you, right? Be the gift, right? Acknowledge the gift that is you so that you can give that gift in the world, right? By showing up and then offering the possibility for others to say, hey, I'll have what she's having, or I could choose that, or she didn't die. Maybe I could have a little courage and try something like that too. Okay, so just keep opening and not closing. Wait until you see what happens to you. You can even affect the health of your body with your energy flow. True story. When you start to feel the tendency of an illness coming on, you just relax and open. When you open, you bring more energy into the system and it can heal. Energy can heal, and that's why love can heal. As you explore your inner energy, a whole world of discovery opens up to you. Not to mention, you're just helping your body, right? The more we relax, it's a true story. The more we relax, right? The muscles relax. The blood can flow. We can be oxygenated, right? They're like all of these amazing things. And then we also have the energetic piece. So the most important thing in life is your inner energy. If you're always tired and never enthused, then life is no fun, right? All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. You remember from The Shining. But if you're always inspired and filled with energy, then every minute of every day is an exciting experience. Learn to work with these things. Through meditation, through awareness and willful efforts, you can learn to keep your centers open. You do this by just relaxing and releasing. You do this by not buying into the concept that there is anything worth closing over, right? Never tell or buy the story. Remember, if you love life, nothing is worth closing over. Nothing ever is worth closing your heart ever. So, I'm going to keep going. What time is it? Okay. All right, so chapter 6, the secrets of the spiritual heart. Okay, and remember, I think it was in chapter 1 when they were making the differentiation between spiritual and worldly, or Michael Singer was making the distinction. He was saying, when we talk about worldly, we're just talking about deriving our energy, our worth, everything from the outside. And spiritual, he's simply saying that the wellspring of our life is from within and from our being. That's what he's using the word spiritual to refer to. So the secrets of the spiritual heart. Very few people understand the heart. In truth, your heart is one of the masterpieces of creation. It is a phenomenal instrument. It has the potential to create vibrations and harmonies that are far beyond the beauty of pianos, strings, or flutes. You can hear an instrument, but you feel your heart. And if you think that you feel an instrument, it's only because it touched your heart. Your heart is an instrument made of extremely subtle energy that few people come to appreciate. In most human beings, the heart does its work unattended. Even though its behavior governs the course of our lives, it is not understood. If at any given point in time the heart happens to open, we fall in love. If at any given point in time it happens to close, the love stops. If the heart happens to hurt, we get angry. And if we stop feeling it altogether, we get empty. All of these different things happen because the heart goes through changes. These energy shifts and variations that take place in the heart run your life. You are so identified with them that you use the words I and me when you refer to what's going on in your heart. But in truth, you are not your heart. You are the experiencer of your heart, right? When we talked about everything in the first chapter, the second chapter, who are you, right? Okay, so the heart is actually very simple to understand. It is an energy center, a chakra. It is one of the most beautiful and powerful energy centers and one that affects our daily lives. As we have seen, an energy center is an area within your body through which your energy focuses, distributes, and flows. The energy flow has been referred to as Shakti, spirit, and Chi, and it plays an intricate part in your life. You feel the heart's energy all the time. Think about what it is like to feel love in your heart. Think about what it is like to feel inspiration and enthusiasm pour from your heart. Think about what it is like to feel energy well up in your heart, making you confident and strong. All of this happens because the heart is an energy center. The heart controls the energy flow by opening and closing. This means that the heart, like a valve, can either allow the flow of energy to pass through, or it can restrict this flow of energy from passing through. If you observe your heart, you know very well what it feels like when it's open and what it feels like when it's closed. In fact, the state of your heart changes quite regularly. You can be experiencing great feelings of love while in the presence of someone until they say something you don't like. Then your heart closes toward them, and you simply don't feel the love anymore. We have all experienced this, but what actually is causing it? Since we all have to experience the heart, we might as well understand what's going on in there. We begin this analysis by asking a fundamental question. What is it about the structure of the heart center that permits it to close? What you will find is that the heart closes because it becomes blocked by stored, unfinished energy patterns from your past. You need only examine your everyday experiences to understand this. As events take place in this world, they come in through your senses and have an impact on your inner state of being. The experiences of these events may bring up some fear, some anxiety, or maybe some love. Different experiences happen inside because of how you take in and digest the world as it passes through you. When you take in the world through the senses, it is actually energy that is coming into your being. Form itself does not come into your mind or heart. Form stays outside, but it is processed by your senses into energy patterns that your mind and heart can receive and experience. Science explains this sensory process to us. Your eyes are not really windows through which you look out into the world. Your eyes are cameras that send electronic images of the world into you. This is true of all your senses. They sense the world, convert the information, transmit this data through electrical nerve impulses, and then the impressions get rendered in your mind. Your senses are indeed electronic sensing devices. But if the energy patterns that are coming into your psyche create disturbance, you will resist them and not allow them to pass through you. When you do this, the energy patterns actually get blocked within you. This is very important. To better understand what it's like to have these energies stored within you, Let's first examine what it would be like if nothing was stored. What if everything just passed right through you? For example, when you're driving down a highway, you probably pass through thousands of trees. They don't leave impressions on you. They're gone as soon as they're perceived. While you're driving, you see trees, you see buildings, you see cars, and none of these make a lasting impression on you. There's just a momentary impression that allows you to see them, though they do come in through the senses and make impressions upon your mind. As quickly as the impressions are made, they are released. When you have no personal issues with them, impressions process freely, right? In and out, bye-bye. This is how the overall system of perception is meant to work. It's meant to take things in, allow you to experience them, and then let them pass through so that you're fully present in the next moment. While this system is in a working operative state, you are fine and it is fine. You're simply having experience after experience. Driving is an experience. Trees passing by are an experience, and cars passing by are an experience. These experiences are gifts that are being given to you like a great movie. They are passing into you, awakening and stimulating you. They are actually having a profound effect on you. Moment after moment, experiences are coming in and you're learning and growing. Your heart and mind are expanding and you are being touched at a very deep level. If experience is the best teacher, there's nothing that comes close to the experience of life. What it means to live life is to experience the moment that is passing through you, and then experience the next moment, and then the next. Many different experiences will come in and pass through you. It's a phenomenal system when it is working properly. If you could live in that state, you would be a fully aware being. That is how an awakened being lives in the now. They are present. Life is present, and the wholeness of life is passing through them. Imagine if you were so fully present during each experience of life that it was touching you to the depth of your being. Every moment would be a stimulating, moving experience because you would be completely open and life would be flowing right through you. But that's not what happens inside most of us. Instead, it's more like you're driving down the street. Here come the trees, here come the cars, and it's all passing right through you with no trouble. Then inevitably, something comes in that doesn't make it through. There was this one car, a light blue Ford Mustang, that looked like your girlfriend's car. But as it passed by, you noticed two people hugging in the front seat. At least it looked like they were hugging, and it sure looked like your girlfriend's car. But it was a car just like any other car, wasn't it? No, it wasn't just like all the other cars to you. Let's look carefully at what has happened. Surely, for the camera of the eyes, and this is where also it's like, so sidebar, we're looking at what happened. This is actually the creation part, right? Choice creates, right? So that's where it's actually the creation. Because now when we see this blue car, and we create all of a sudden this whole story that taps into our senses, into our feelings, into our emotions, into past information, right? And that's all creation. So our choice really also, it creates by choosing where we put our attention and when we are allowing these experiences to simply pass through and where we're allowing ourselves to get hooked and get tangled, right? Okay. So, surely, for the camera of the eye, there's no difference between that car and the others. There's light bouncing off of objects, passing through your retina, and making a visual impression on your mind. So at the physical level, nothing different is going on, but at the mental level, the impression didn't make it through. When the next moment comes, you no longer notice the rest of the trees. You're not seeing the rest of the cars. Your heart and mind are fixated on that one car, even though it's gone. You've got yourself a problem here. There's a blockage. An event that got stuck, kind of like traffic, right? All the subsequent experiences are trying to pass through you, but something has happened inside that has left this past experience unfinished. So you start to get a clog, right? A traffic jam of all these other experiences trying to get through. What happens to that experience that didn't make it through? Specifically, what happens to the image of the girlfriend's car if it doesn't just fade away into deep memory like everything else? At some point, you'll have to stop focusing on it in order to deal with something else, like the stoplight. What you don't realize is that your entire experience of life is about to change because of what didn't make it through you. Life must now compete with the blocked event for your attention, and the impression does not just sit in there quietly. You will see that your tendency is to think about it constantly. This is all in an attempt to find a way to process it through your mind. You didn't need to process the trees, but you need to process this because you resisted. It got stuck, and now you have a problem. You see the thoughts start up. Well, maybe it wasn't her. Of course it wasn't her. How could that possibly have been? Though, let's see. Oh, thought after thought go on inside. It drives you crazy in there. All that inner noise is just your attempt to process the blocked energy and get it out of the way, right? To package it so you can control it, get out of that cognitive dissonance, right? And then stuff it away somewhere in the closet. Long term, the energy patterns that cannot make it through you are pushed out of the forefront of the mind and held until you are prepared to release them. These energy patterns, which hold tremendous detail about the events associated with them, are real. They don't just disappear. When you are unable to allow life's events to pass through you, they stay inside and become a problem. These patterns may be held within you for a very long time. It is not easy to keep energy together in one place for long. As you willfully struggle to keep these events from passing through your consciousness, the energy first tries to release by manifesting through the mind. It is why the mind becomes so active. When the energy can't make it through the mind because of conflicts with other thoughts and mental concepts, it then tries to release through the heart. That is what creates all the emotional activity. When you resist even that release, the energy gets packed up and forced into deep storage within the heart. In the yogic tradition, that unfinished energy pattern is called a samskara. This is a Sanskrit word meaning impression, and in the yogic teaching, it is considered one of the most important influences affecting your life. A samskara is a blockage, an impression from the past. It's an unfinished energy pattern that ends up running your life. In order to understand this, let's first take an in-depth look at the physics behind these blocked energy patterns. Just like energy waves, the energy that comes into you must keep moving. But that doesn't mean it can't get blocked within you. There is a way that the energy can both keep moving and stay in one place, and that is to circle around itself. We see this in atoms and in planetary orbits. Everything is energy, and energy will just expand outward if it is not contained. For there to be manifest creation, energy must get in the dynamic of cycling around itself to create a stable unit. That's why energy manifesting as an atom forms the basic building block of this entire physical universe. Energy cycles around itself, and as we've discovered, atoms have enough harnessed energy to blow up the world when that energy is released. But unless forced otherwise, the energy will stay harmless because of its equilibrium state. This process of cycling energy is exactly what happens with a samskara. A samskara is a cycle of stored past energy pattern in a state of relative equilibrium. It is your resistance to experiencing these patterns that causes the energy to keep cycling around itself. There is no other place for it to go. You won't let it. This is how most people process their issues. This packet of cycling energy is literally stored in your energetic heart center. All the samskaras you have collected over your life are stored there. To fully appreciate what this means, let's go back to the example of the light blue Mustang that looked like your girlfriend's car. Once the disturbed energy patterns are packaged and stored in the heart, They are basically inactive. It may look to you like you have handled the situation and that you have no more issues with that experience. You may not even mention the event to your girlfriend because it would look like you were jealous. You didn't know what to do, so you resisted the energy, and it got stored in the heart where it could fall into the background and not be bothersome. While it may seem like it's done, like it is all over and gone, it really isn't. Every one of the samskaras that you've stored is still there. Everything that did not make it through you from the time you were a baby all the way to this moment is still inside of you. It is these impressions, these samskaras, that ensure the valve of the spiritual heart. And crust. Let me read that again. It is these impressions, these samskaras, that encrust the valve of the spiritual heart. That encrustation builds up and restricts the energy flow. Now that we understand where the blockages within the heart come from, we have answered the structural question of how the heart gets blocked. You can certainly see the potential for impressions to build up to the point where very little energy can make it through. If these build up sufficiently, you will find yourself in a state of depression. In that state, all becomes dark. This is because very little energy is coming into your heart or mind. Eventually, everything appears negative because the world of the senses must pass through this depressed energy before it gets to your consciousness. But even if you aren't prone to depression, your heart still gets blocked over time. It just builds up. It doesn't always stay blocked, however. Depending upon life's experiences, it can open and close quite frequently. This leads us to our next question. What is the cause of these frequent changes in the state of the heart? If you watch carefully, you will see it is related to the same stored past impressions that caused the blockages. The stored energy patterns are real. A samskara is actually programmed with the specific details of the event that could not pass through. If you experienced jealousy because you thought you saw your girlfriend hugging someone in a car, very detailed data about that event is stored in the samskara. It has that event's vibration, it has that event's nature, and it even retains your level of sensitivity about the event. To see this, let's watch what happens in the future. It's 5 years later and you're no longer with your old girlfriend. You've married someone else and you're much more mature. One day, you're out driving along with the family having a wonderful time. The streets are going by and the cars are going by, and then a light blue Mustang drives by with two people hugging in the front seat. Immediately, something changes in your heart. Your heart actually skips a beat. Then it starts beating faster. You start getting moody, irritated, and agitated. You aren't having such a nice day anymore. All of these inner changes occur because your heart got disturbed when you saw one particular car. It is truly amazing to step back and look at this process. 5 years ago, for just a few moments, an event took place. You never discussed it with anyone, and now 5 years later, a light blue Mustang drives by and it changes the energy flow through your heart and your mind. And as unbelievable as it seems, it is true. And it's not only true about light blue Mustangs, it's true about everything that didn't make it through you. No wonder we're so overwhelmed. No wonder the heart keeps opening and closing. The energy that's stored there is real, and it interacts with the flow of current thoughts and events. The dynamics of this interaction cause the vibrations that are stored as samskara to get activated, sometimes even years later. This is what happened with the light blue Mustang. Understand, however, that it didn't even have to be the identical car to activate the stored energy. It could have been a black Mustang or any car with people hugging. Anything in the neighborhood has the potential to stimulate a samskara. The point is that past impressions do get stimulated, even old ones, and they affect your life. Sensory inputs from today's events dig through all the stuff you have stored through the years, and they restore the exact past patterns associated with the incoming events. When a samskara is stimulated, it opens like a flower and begins to release the stored energy. Suddenly, flashes of what you experienced when the original event took place rush into your consciousness. The thoughts, the feelings, sometimes even the smells and the sensory inputs. The samskara can store a complete snapshot of the event. It is way beyond any computer storage system created by human beings. It can archive everything you were feeling, everything you were thinking, and everything that was happening surrounding the event. All this information is stored into a tiny, tiny energy bubble within your heart. Years later, it gets stimulated, and instantly you're experiencing the feelings you felt in the past. You can actually feel the fears and the insecurity of a 5-year-old when you're 60. What is happening is that unfinished mental and emotional energy patterns are getting stored and reactivated. But it is just as important to realize that most of what you take in does not get blocked. It makes it right through you. Imagine how many things you see all day. They're not all stored like that. Of all these impressions, the only ones that get blocked are those that cause either problems or some extraordinary sense of enjoyment. Yes, you store positive impressions too. When a wonderful experience happens to you, it doesn't make it through because you cling to it. Clinging means, I don't want this one to go away. He told me he loved me and I felt so loved and protected. I want to keep reliving this moment. Play it back for me over and over again. Clinging creates positive samskara, and when these are stimulated, they release positive energy. Hence, 2 kinds of experiences can occur that block the heart. You are either trying to push energies away because they are bothering you, or you are trying to keep energies close because you like them. In both cases, you are not letting them pass, and you are wasting precious energy by blocking the flow through resisting and clinging. The alternative is to enjoy life instead of clinging to it or pushing it away. If you can live like that, each moment will change. If you are willing to experience the gift of life instead of fighting with it, you will be moved to the depth of your being. When you reach this state, you will begin to see the secrets of the heart. The heart is the place through which energy flows to sustain you. This energy inspires you and raises you. It is the strength that carries you through life. It is the beautiful experience of love that pours through your whole being. This is meant to be going on inside you at all times. The highest state you have ever experienced is simply the result of how open you are. If you don't close, it can be like that all the time. Don't sell yourself short. This can go on all the time. Unending inspiration, unending love, and unending openness. That is the natural state of a healthy heart. To achieve this state, simply allow the experience of life to come in and pass through your being. If old energies come back up because you were unable to process them before, let go of them now. It's that easy, right? First the awareness that it's there, and then the choice. When that light blue Mustang drives by and you feel fear or jealousy, just smile. Be happy that this samskara, which has been stored down there for all this time, has the opportunity to make it through you. Just open, relax your heart. Forgive, laugh, or do anything you want. Just don't push it back down. Of course it hurts when it comes up. It was stored with pain and it will release with pain. You have to decide if you want to continue to walk around with stored pain blocking your heart and limiting your life. The alternative is to be willing to let it go when it gets stimulated. It only hurts for a moment and then it's over. So you have a choice. Do you want to try to change the world so it doesn't disturb your samskaras, or are you willing to go through this process of purification? Don't make decisions based on stimulated blockages. Learn to be centered enough to just watch this stuff come up. Once you sit deeply enough inside to stop fighting the stored energy patterns, they'll come up constantly and pass right through you. They'll come up during the day and they'll even come up in your dreams. Your heart will become accustomed to the process of releasing and cleansing. Just let it all happen. Get it over with. Don't process them one by one. That's too slow. Stay centered behind them and let go. Just like the physical body purges bacteria and other foreign matter, the natural flow of your energy will purge the stored patterns from your heart. Your reward is a permanently open heart. There is no more valve. You live in love, and it feeds you and strengthens you. This is an open heart. That is the instrument of the heart as it is meant to be. Allow yourself to experience every note the heart can play. If you relax and release, the purification of your heart is a wonderful thing. Set your eyes on the highest state you can imagine and don't take them off. If you slip, just get back up. It doesn't matter. The very fact that you even want to go through this process of feeling the energy flow means you are great. You will get there. Just keep going. Because, like I've said before, spoiler alert, you're already there. And this is just your way of remembering. Okay, so let's see. Oh, look at that, 111. Yay. The next one, I'm going to do it. The third chapter in this part of the book. Chapter 7, Transcending the Tendency to Close. The foundations of spiritual growth and personal awakening are very much strengthened by the finding of Western science. Science has shown us how an underlying energy field forms into atoms, which then bind together into molecules and ultimately manifest into the entire physical universe. The same is true inside of us. All that goes on inside also has its foundation in an underlying energy field. It is the movements in this field that create our mental and emotional patterns, as well as our inner drives, urges, and instinctual reactions. Regardless of what you call this inner force field, chi, shakti, or spirit, it is an underlying energy that flows in particular patterns throughout your inner being. When looking at these patterns within yourself, as well as in other living species, it is not difficult to see that the most primal energy flow is the survival instinct. During eons of evolution, from the simplest of living forms to the most complex, there has always been the day-to-day struggle to protect oneself. In our highly evolved cooperative social structures, this survival instinct has gone through evolutionary changes. Many of us no longer lack food, water, clothing, or shelter, nor do we regularly face life-threatening physical danger. As a result, the protective energies have adapted toward defending the individual psychologically rather than physiologically. We now experience the daily need to defend our self-concept rather than our bodies. Our major struggles end up being with our own inner fears, insecurities, and destructive behavior patterns, and not with outside forces. Nevertheless, the same impulse that make a deer run away urge you to run away. Suppose somebody raises their voice at you or talks about an uncomfortable subject. These are not physically threatening circumstances, yet your heart starts pumping a little faster. That's exactly what happens to deer whenever they hear a sudden sound. Their hearts start pumping faster and they either freeze or run away. In your case, however, it's not usually the kind of fear that causes you to physically run away. It's just a deep personal fear demanding protection. Since it's not socially acceptable to run into the woods and hide like a deer, you hide inside. You withdraw, close down, and pull back behind your protective shield. What you're actually doing is closing down your energy centers. Even if you don't know you have energy centers, you've been closing them since kindergarten. You know exactly how to close your heart and put up a physiological protective shield, a psychological protective shield. You know exactly how to close down the centers to avoid being too receptive and sensitive to the different energies coming in and causing fear. Maybe it is also a physiological shield. You know, I would be curious. Heart disease, heart attacks, all these different things, illnesses of the heart. Things that make me go, When you close down and protect yourself, you are pulling a shell around the part of you that is weak. This is the part that feels it needs protection, even though no physical attack is taking place. You are protecting your ego and self-concept. Although a situation may present no physical danger, it may cause you to experience disturbance, fear, insecurity, and other emotional problems, so you feel the need to protect yourself. The problem is that the part of you that gets disturbed is way out of balance. It's so sensitive that the slightest little thing causes it to overreact. You are living on a planet spinning around the middle of outer space, and you're either worrying about your blemishes, the scratch on your new car, or the fact that you burped in public. It's not healthy. If your physical body were that sensitive, you would say you were sick. But our society considers psychological sensitivities normal. Because most of us don't have to worry about food, clothing, or shelter, we have the luxury of worrying about a spot on our pants, or laughing too loud, or saying something wrong. Because we've developed the hypersensitive psyche, we constantly use our energies to close around it and protect ourselves. But this process only hides the problems, it doesn't fix them. You're locking your illness inside you, and it will only get worse. You will get to a point in your growth where you understand that if you protect yourself, you will never be free. It's that simple. Because you're scared, you have locked yourself within your house and pulled down all the shades. Now it's dark and you want to feel the sunlight, but you can't. It's impossible. If you close and protect yourself, you are locking this scared, insecure person within your heart. You will never be free that way. Unfortunately, if you protect yourself perfectly, you will never grow. All your habits and idiosyncrasies will stay the same. Life becomes stagnant when people protect their stored issues. People say things like, "You know we don't talk about that subject around your father." There are all these rules about things that are not supposed to happen outside because they could cause disturbance inside. Living like this allows for very little spontaneous joy, enthusiasm, and excitement for life. Most people just go from day to day protecting themselves and making sure nothing goes wrong. At the end of the day, when someone asks, "How was your day?" a normal response is, "Not too bad," or "I'll survive." What is that telling you about their view of life? They see life as a threat. A good day means you made it through without getting hurt. The longer you live like this, the more closed you become. If you really want to grow, you have to do the opposite. Real spiritual growth happens when there is only one of you inside. There's not a part that's scared and another part that's protecting the part that's scared. All parts are unified because there is no part of you that you're not willing to see. The mind is no longer divided into the conscious and subconscious. Everything you see inside is just something you see inside. It's not you, it's what you see. There is simply the pure energy pouring inside of you that creates the ripples of thoughts and emotions, and there is the consciousness that's aware of it. There is simply you watching the dance of the psyche. In order to reach this state of awareness, you must let your entire psyche surface. Every little separate piece of it must be permitted to pass through. Right now, many fragmented parts of your psyche are held within you. If you want to be free, it all has to be equally exposed to your awareness and released. But it will never get exposed if you're closing yourself. After all, the purpose of closing was to make sure that the sensitive parts of your psyche don't get exposed. So you catch on that no matter how much pain the exposure creates, you are willing to pay the price for freedom. When you are no longer willing to identify with the part of you that is separating itself into a million pieces, you are ready for real growth. Begin by seeing the tendency to protect and defend yourself. There is a very deep, innate tendency to close, especially around your soft spots. But eventually you will notice that closing creates tremendous work. Once you close, you have to make sure that what you're protecting doesn't get disturbed. You then carry this task for the rest of your life. The alternative is to become conscious enough to simply watch the part of your being that is constantly trying to protect itself. You could then give yourself the ultimate gift by deciding not to do that anymore. You decide instead to get rid of that part. You start by watching life and noticing the constant flow of people and situations that hit your stuff every day. How often do you find yourself trying to protect and defend that weak part of you? You feel like the world wants to get right at it. Every place you go, there's somebody or something trying to disturb you, trying to get your goat. Why not let them have it? If you don't really want it, then don't protect it. The reward for not protecting your psyche is liberation. You are free to walk through this world without a problem on your mind. You are just having fun experiencing whatever happens next because you got rid of that scared part of you. You don't ever have to worry about getting hurt or disturbed. You no longer have to listen to, what will they think of me? Or, oh God, I wish I hadn't said that. It sounded so stupid. You just go about your business and put your whole being into whatever's happening, instead of putting your whole being into your personal sensitivity. Once you've made the commitment to free yourself of that scared person inside, you will notice that there is a clear decision point at which your growth takes place. Spiritual growth is about the point at which you start to feel your energy change. For instance, somebody says something and you start to feel the energy get a little strange inside. You will actually start to feel a tightening. That is your cue that it's time to grow. It's not time to defend yourself because you don't want the part of you that you would be defending. If you don't want it, let it go. You will eventually get conscious enough so that the minute you see the energy starting to get strange, you stop. You stop getting involved in the energy. If it normally causes you to start talking, you stop talking. You just stop mid-sentence because you know where it will go if you continue. The moment you see the energy getting imbalanced inside, the moment you see the heart starting to tense and get defensive, you just stop. What exactly does it mean to stop? It's something you do inside. It's called letting go. When you let go, you are falling behind the energy that is trying to pull you into it. Your energies inside have power. They are very strong and they draw your awareness into them. If a hammer falls on your toe, all your awareness will focus there. If there's a sudden loud sound again, all of your awareness will focus there. Consciousness has the tendency to focus on disturbance, and disturbed energies inside are no different, or no exception. These disturbed energies will draw your consciousness to them, but you do not have to let that happen. You really do have the ability to disengage and fall back behind them. When the energies inside start to move, you do not have to go there. For instance, when your thoughts start, you do not have to go with them. Let's say you're outside taking a walk and a car drives by. Your thoughts say, boy, I wish I had that car. You could just keep on walking, but instead you start getting upset. You want a car like that, but your salary isn't high enough. So you begin thinking about how you can get a raise or a different job. You didn't have to do all that. It could have just been, here comes the car and there it goes. And here comes the thought and there it goes. They're both gone together because they didn't go with them. They're both gone together because you didn't go with them. That is what's called being centered. If you aren't centered, your consciousness is just following whatever catches its attention. You see the car drive by and you're off doing something about it. Another day you see a boat and then it's all about the boat and you forget about the car. There are people like that. They don't hold jobs very well and relationships don't tend to work out for them. They're just all over the place because their energy is very scattered. You have the ability to not go with any of these thoughts. You can just sit in the seat of consciousness and let go. A thought or emotion emerges, you notice it, and it passes by because you allow it to. This technique of freeing yourself is done with the understanding that thoughts and emotions are just objects of consciousness. When you see your heart start getting anxious, you are obviously aware of this experience. But who is aware? It is the consciousness, the indwelling being, the soul, the self. It is the seer, the one who sees. The changes you experience in your inner energy flow are simply objects of this consciousness. If you want to be free, then every time you feel any change in the energy flow, relax behind it. Don't fight with it. Don't try to change it. Don't judge it. Just don't say, oh, I can't believe I'm still feeling this. I promised myself I wouldn't think about that car anymore. Don't do that. You'll just end up going with the guilty thoughts instead of the car thoughts. You have to let them all go. But it's not just about letting go of the thoughts and emotions. It's actually about letting go of the pull that the energy itself has on your consciousness. The disturbed energy is trying to draw your attention into it. If you use your inner willpower to not go with it and just remain seated within, you will notice that the distinction between the consciousness and the object of consciousness is like night and day. They are totally different things. The object comes and goes, and the consciousness watches it come and go. Then the next object comes and goes while the consciousness watches it. Both objects came and went, but the consciousness didn't go anywhere. It stays constant and simply watches all of it. The consciousness experiences the creation of thoughts and emotions, and it has the clarity to see where they came from. It sees all of this without thinking about it. It sees what's going on inside as easily as it sees what's going on outside. It simply watches. The self is watching the inside energies change in accordance to both inside and outside forces. All the energies that it watches will just come and go unless you lose your center of consciousness and go with them. Let's take a slow motion look at what happens if you go with these energies. First, you start to have a thought or feeling. This feeling could be as subtle as your energy flow starting to tighten and become defensive, or it could be something much stronger. If these energies capture your consciousness and all the power of awareness gets focused on them, this power actually feeds them. Consciousness is a tremendously powerful force. When you concentrate on these thoughts and emotions, they become charged with energy and power. This is why thoughts and emotions get stronger the more attention you give them. Let's say you feel a little jealousy or a little fear. If you focus on it, it grows in importance and demands more of your attention. Then, because your attention feeds it, it becomes infused with even more energy and draws more attention. That's how the cycle goes. Eventually, what started as a passing thought or emotion can become the center of your entire life. If you don't let go, it can get completely out of control. A wise person remains centered enough to let go every time the energy shifts into a defensive mode. The moment the energy moves and you feel your consciousness start to get drawn into it, you relax and release. Letting go means falling behind the energy instead of going into it. It just takes a moment of conscious effort to decide, or choose, that you're not going there. You just let go. It's simply a matter of taking the risk that you are better off letting go than going with the energy. When you're free from the hold the energy has on you, you will be free to experience the joy and expansiveness that exists within you. So you decide to use life to free yourself. You become willing to pay any price for the freedom of your soul. You will realize that the only price you have to pay is letting go of yourself. Only you can take inner freedom away from yourself or give it to yourself. Nobody else can. It doesn't matter what others do unless you decide that it matters to you. Begin with small things. We tend to let ourselves get bothered by the little meaningless things that happen every day. For example, somebody beeps at you at the stoplight. As these little things happen, you will feel your energy change. The moment you feel a change, relax your shoulders and relax the area around your heart. The moment the energy moves, you simply relax and release. Play with letting go and falling behind the sense of being bothered. Play with letting go and falling behind this sense of being bothered. Let's say someone at work took your pencil and you notice that every time you go to use another one, your inner energy shifts, even the slightest amount. Are you willing to release the old pencil in order to liberate yourself? This is how you make freedom a game. Instead of getting into being bothered, you get into being free. When you reach for a pencil and you see yourself getting a little uptight, let go. Your mind might start saying, it was a pencil today, and if I let go, they'll stomp all over me. It'll be my desk tomorrow, or my house, or maybe even my husband. That's how the mind talks. It's very melodramatic. But you decide that for the cost of a pencil, you'll go for the ride. You tell your mind, when it's the cat, we'll have a talk. Right now, it only costs a pencil to be free. Just decide that no matter what the mind says, you aren't getting involved. You don't fight the mind. In fact, you don't even try to change it. You just make a game out of relaxing in the face of its melodrama. You simply learn how to release the tendency for getting drawn into the energy. The root is where the consciousness is aware of the pull of these energies. You will see that the energy does have the power to draw you in. Even once you decide you're not going to let that happen, it still has a tremendous power over you. It happens at work and it happens at home. It happens with your children and with your husband or wife. It happens with everything and everybody all the time. Your opportunities to grow are endless. It's always there in front of you. Just commit to not letting the energy draw you in. When you feel the pull like somebody pulling on your heart, you just let go. You fall behind it. You simply relax and release. And no matter how many times you're pulled, that's how many times you relax and release. Because the tendency to get drawn in is constant. The willingness to let go and fall behind has to be constant. Your center of consciousness is always stronger than the energy that is pulling on it. You just have to be willing to exercise your will. But it's not a fight or a struggle. It's not that you are trying to stop the energies from coming up inside. There's nothing wrong with feeling the energies of fear, jealousy, or attraction. It's not your fault that such energies exist. All the attractions, repulsions, thoughts, and feelings don't make any difference. They don't make you pure or impure. They are not you. You are the one who's watching, and that one is pure consciousness. Don't think you'd be free if you just didn't have these kinds of feelings. It's not true. If you can be free even though you're having these kinds of feelings, then you're really free. Because there will always be something. If you can learn to remain centered with the smaller things, you will see that you can also remain centered with bigger things. Over time, you will find that you can even remain centered with the really big things. The types of events that would have destroyed you in the past can come and go, leaving you perfectly centered and peaceful. You can be fine deep inside, even in the face of a deep sense of loss. There's nothing wrong with being peaceful and centered as long as you are releasing the energy, not suppressing it. Ultimately, even if terrible things happen, you should be able to live without emotional scars and impressions. If you don't hold these issues inside, you can go about your life without getting psychologically damaged. No matter what events take place in life, it is always better to let go rather than to close. There's a place deep inside of you where the consciousness touches the energy and the energy touches the consciousness. That's where your work is. From that place, you let go. Once you've let go, every minute of every day, year after year, then that's where you'll live. Nothing will be able to take your seat of consciousness from you. You'll learn to stay there. After you've put years and years into the process and learned to let go, no matter how deep the pain, you will achieve a great state. You will break the ultimate habit, the constant draw of the lower self. You will then be free to explore the nature and source of your true being, pure consciousness. How does it get any better than that? All right. So on Friday, we will explore part 3 of The Untethered Soul. Freeing Yourself is the title of part 3. So we will definitely read the next chapter, which is Let Go Now or Fall. And that's chapter 8. And we will also do chapter 9, Removing Your Inner Thorn. So hi everybody. I'm so excited that those of you who are watching live contributed to the energy of this reading, and those of you who are finding it after, please remember you can always still pop any ideas or thoughts or comments or aha moments into the comments, and I always look at those. So curious to see how this all lands for you. Thank you too. Thank you. So that's it for today. And if you did miss the first several chapters, please go to the Art of Creation Show subscribe button so that you get notified when the next ones are released. And you'll also see all the archived episodes and the first two from this season with the beginning of this amazing book. So thank you guys for being here. Please like, subscribe, click the notification bell so that you know when I go live, and you can join me. I wonder what we will discover next. Bye-bye, everybody.